Join Yvette Walker every Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m. on KMET ABC News Radio, 1490 AM, FM 98.1, and Internet KMET TV for the Southern California Business Report. The show is dedicated to highlighting successful businesses and the individuals behind them. Yvette interviews the incredible people managing these enterprises that range from awe-inspiring sole proprietors to world-renowned organizations. The Southern California Business Report, Tuesdays at 4 o'clock p.m. Welcome to KMET 1490 AM ABC News Radio and the Southern California Business Report with Yvette Walker, a show dedicated to highlighting successful Southern California businesses and the people behind them.
Welcome and thank you for joining the Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks, KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV. I'm Yvette Walker, live, blasting our signal from the center of Southern California, serving a population of over 25 million. Get us crystal clear and on demand by downloading the free KMET live streaming app on Google Play or the Apple App Store. A huge shout out to the team. Mitch, Bill, and Sean, you know I love you. And to our Special Advisory Committee, Bill Morris of UCI School of Business, Diane Cavallo, and Camila Rubio, thank you so much. Don't forget to check out the Jay Kaplan Show, also on KMET, on Fridays at 3. Today, I have the distinct pleasure and honor to be introducing Dr. Mike Stull. He is the professor of entrepreneurship, director of the Inland Empire Center for Entrepreneurship, and the School of Entrepreneurship in the Jack H. Brown College of Business and Public Administration at California State University, San Bernardino. Under his leadership, the program has grown in stature and recognition, achieving multiple national and global awards. With nearly 40 years' experience in business and education, Mike describes himself as the living example that entrepreneurship is a process that can be applied in any setting, and he truly thinks like an owner. At CSUSB, he has raised over $39 million in grants, contracts, and sponsorships, and spearheaded the establishment of the School of Entrepreneurship, the first and only school of its kind in California. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Stull.
Yvette, it's a pleasure to be here. Excited to talk about entrepreneurship with you.
Well, you know, it's a wonderful theme, and it fits right into what it is that we're doing. So, you know, please take us back, Dr. Stull. How did you get to where you are today?
Wow. Well, you know, I was thinking about that. When I was 5, my parents started a business. And so I grew up around entrepreneurs and small business, and kind of I got exposed to this as a lifestyle and was really intrigued by it. And so one of my goals when I came of age was I wanted to either be a professional baseball player or I wanted to own a business. And the first one didn't work out. So the second one was I was like, oh, I hope I get to that. But I was one of those kids that had the lemonade stand. I sold candy in the neighborhood. I was out there hustling because I saw my parents doing that. And it was just a lot of fun. And I started a couple of different business ventures. And then I went to work for my family's company. We actually had 2 companies, smaller companies that I went to work for. I had a blast working in those companies, helping grow in particular, one of the companies. And I got to the point where, you know, I was really interested in kind of stepping out on my own, and got involved in helping consult with and support entrepreneurs that were starting and growing their businesses. And from there, I got exposed to what was happening at Cal State San Bernardino in 1999. They created the Center for Entrepreneurship. And I was asked to teach one of the very first classes in entrepreneurship at the university as an alumni. And I was involved with the center as a board member. And, and then I ended up joining the center and building the academic program, and haven't looked back from there.
Wonderful, wonderful. So before we get started, let's talk about what you believe to be, you know, the basic or general qualities of what an entrepreneur really is.
Oh, that's a great question. It's kind of like a good stew or a gumbo. It's got a lot of really unique elements that bring it all together, and every batch is just a little bit different, right? Because every entrepreneur is just a little bit different. But obviously, you know, for a lot of us, there's a little bit of it in our DNA, right? Some of us are predisposed, to have some characteristics and and behaviors that we would see in successful entrepreneurs, and some of it's learned, quite honestly, through experience and knowledge, and going through an academic program like ours, or learning on your own. But we know that entrepreneurs are persistent. They're highly motivated. They're highly autonomous. They're self-directed. They really don't want to be have a boss. Really, they have a tolerance for taking risk. And I could go into more about that, because they're not wild risk takers. In fact, they're actually quite the opposite. But they do have some tolerance for risk. Their propensity to take risk is a little bit more than your average person. They're very proactive. They've got to usually have a vision. They really see a future, and they work to make it happen. And they're, one of the things that often isn't associated with entrepreneurs is that they're really good about building teams. And the best entrepreneurs I've worked with are fantastic leaders. They really engage people to be a part of helping them realize a vision. And so they've got all this. They've got a lot of grit, determination, persistence, willingness to take risks, proactive. But they're also really focused on solving a problem, helping create value in the marketplace.
Well, that all sounds like a beautiful gumbo, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So now, please, let's talk about the Inland Empire Center for Entrepreneurship and its evolution to becoming the School of Entrepreneurship at Cal State San Bernardino, or how those two work together.
Yeah, they're both set. They both still exist, or the Center for Entrepreneurship still exists. It was founded in 1999 with a mission of supporting entrepreneurship on campus, and really driving the development of academic programs and building the student interest, but also equally playing a role in the community. Cal State San Bernardino is an institution that believes that it can play a significant role in the economic and social development in the community. And so the Center for Entrepreneurship has been a critical part of that from day one. Over the years, the center has helped build the academic programs and grow. I always tell the story. When I started there, we had less than 10 students, studying entrepreneurship, and now we have 307 in our program as of spring of 2022. So, but we grew the program to the point where it made sense for it to become its own separate academic entity, which in our parlance is the School of Entrepreneurship. And so we launched the school in fall of 2020. As you said in your introduction, the first and only school of entrepreneurship in the state of California, one of probably less than 35, 40 in globally. And the center still plays a key role in providing the experiential learning programs for the School of Entrepreneurship, supporting what the school does on campus, as well as providing business counseling, training, mentoring, and resources for entrepreneurs and small businesses in the community.
Wow. Okay. So can you please talk about some of the courses that you do offer? And I know when we were discussing this, we were talking about some of the unexpected, offerings for this entrepreneurial schooling. So can you share what some of those offerings look like?
Yeah, we have a life cycle approach to how we teach entrepreneurship with our students. And students at Cal State San Bernardino have a variety of options. They can get a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship. They can minor in entrepreneurship. If they're a student in our arts and letters college, they can get a minor in arts and entrepreneurship. If they're coming next year, students in our College of Natural Sciences can get a minor in the sciences and entrepreneurship. And then we have a dedicated master's degree, MBA in entrepreneurship, and a Master of Science in entrepreneurship and innovation. So lots of different programs. But the key element to all of those is we take students from the very beginnings of where do ideas come from? How do I identify opportunities to create a new venture? How do I learn to spot opportunities? How do I learn to assess opportunities? Develop that into a business, and then how do I manage it once I've launched it? So we have this clear life cycle. I tell the students, we go from kind of discovering an idea, which we call sort of like getting attracted to something. I use the analogy of dating. I say, like, you date your idea, you learn about it, you develop a relationship, you ultimately get married, and then you have to manage the relationship to be successful in your marriage. And it's kind of a similar way with business. One of the unexpected things is students in our program, when they come in, one of their required classes is a class on improvisation, taught by our theater arts faculty. And they have to learn how to think on their feet, get comfortable taking risks, get outside themselves, learn to interact with other people and build things in real time. It's been a real game changer for our students.
Wow, I can only imagine. So let's talk about some of the projects that you have your students, conduct as they're preparing, to run out there with their degree in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, students work on a wide range of things. They could be working on their own business ventures. Students in our master's program and even some of our undergraduate students will actually work on what we call technology commercialization projects. So this last fall, we had 4 teams of both undergraduate and graduate students working on a technology that was developed by the United States Navy that they have patents on, and they wanted to see if it had commercial viability. And so our student teams, 4 teams, each came up with a different take on how they saw this really interesting biosensing technology being commercialized and becoming a new venture. And one of those teams is moving forward to try and commercialize that technology. So they're getting like really applied hands-on learning and then resulting in potentially starting these businesses. And I always tell students at Cal State, I said, if you come here and you're really motivated and you're really committed and engaged, and you want to start a business while you're a student, it'll happen. And we have the resources to help them make that happen.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about this school, where it is today and how it fits into the landscape of our region as it stands. All of the factors, the economic realities, the population, the growth, all the projections that we have in our region. Can you please speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the school, we launched it in fall of 2020, and several people in the community have said, "Oh, that's great that now you're doing entrepreneurship." And I always have to correct them and say, "No, we've been doing entrepreneurship since the year 2000. We've got a globally recognized, just this in 2022, we were recognized as a top 50 graduate program in entrepreneurship, number 15 in the West. And when I say West, that's the entire Western. If you count the United States in two, they consider West and East. We're the entire West. So we've got this really great program and great team, great faculty and staff, and phenomenal students. So we're still, the school is still relatively young, and we've got this vision of where we want to take it and be a total game changer in the field of entrepreneurship education. And but why it's so important is that, as you know, that this region needs more entrepreneurs. The economic growth of the region is not going to be developed. It's not going to be driven by Fortune 500 companies. It's going to be small to medium-sized companies, entrepreneurs that are going to drive the growth and development in this region. And so we really view the school as the pipeline, the developer of that next generation of entrepreneurial talent. And as I've been talking with people recently. The nature of work is changing, and a lot of the more current generations view work a little bit differently than perhaps you and I do. And as we've seen in the COVID pandemic, the nature of work is changing, the expectations are changing, and I think more and more of the current generation sees entrepreneurship as the true pathway for them to follow their passion, to make a difference, and really to have economic empowerment.
Absolutely. So, can you talk more about your staff? Who is the team behind you that is working to create these budding entrepreneurs?
Yeah, in both the Center for Entrepreneurship and the School of Entrepreneurship, even though I was, the original guy, we've built a phenomenal team. Center for Entrepreneurship has almost 70 team members and a great leadership team. School of Entrepreneurship, we have about 20 faculty between our full and top part-time faculty, and a really awesome core team. And the one thing I always remind our students when they're looking at our program and they're asking questions about our program, I always remind them, you're going to be learning about entrepreneurship from entrepreneurs. We're not the traditional academics, although we all have, all of our full-time faculty, except for our entrepreneur residents, as an example. We all have our doctoral degrees. We're all steeped in, the theories and the cutting edge research on entrepreneurship and what we know about entrepreneurship and who entrepreneurs are. But we're all entrepreneurs. Every one of our faculty has started and grown a business, and that being able to bring that expertise into the classroom is really valuable, and it's also a validator for the students because they know we're speaking from experience. And also, we're still all currently involved in start. Most of us are still currently involved in various startup projects. And along one of our professors is helping guide one of our new startups. And so, we try and stay current and give them what we know, but also what we've learned through the school of hard knocks. As I always tell students, it's like, you're getting. I didn't have the benefit of getting a degree in entrepreneurship. It wasn't around when I was going through school. So I learned the hard way. And so that's what's exciting for me, is to be able to kind of share that experience with students and help them. As we say, we can't teach you everything, but we can teach you a lot of things, the competencies and the knowledge, and also what not to do, because we learned it the hard way.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, right? Entrepreneurship is not always a linear journey, right? And the fact that you're putting all this knowledge together, all this experience together, this program together, and creating a more linear path is going to make it so much more efficient for your students.
Yeah, absolutely. And as they navigate the program, we try and, as much as we can, simulate what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And the first thing that the students see when they walk into the lab where we teach entrepreneurship, we have a dedicated lab space, two spaces. The first thing they see on the wall is "think like an owner." That's our mantra. And we want them to stop thinking like students, stop thinking like employees, and start thinking as if they're an entrepreneur from day one. And for some of them, it's an easy transition. For a lot of them, it's a difficult transition, because through the educational system, they've been socialized to sort of stay within the lines, do what you're told, and see themselves as somebody that sort of follows directions. And we want them to be proactive, take ownership of their learning, to engage. We do not lecture in the entrepreneurship program; it's all experiential and discussion based. And when they come in, we tell them it's like a full contact sport. You have to come in and start thinking like an owner. And we build in little pieces of our curriculum that force them to start doing that, and purposefully build in some things where we'll say, well, if you were thinking like an owner, you would have done it this way.
Right.
And so I think overall, we're trying as much as we can to simulate what it's really like to experience entrepreneurship.
So let's talk about that mindset, thinking like an owner, because depending on who you talk to with that phrase, think like an owner, you're going to come up with a variety of ideas and thoughts of what it means to think like an owner. So, viewing it through the entrepreneurial lens, can you please share with us what you mean and what the school means when you say think like an owner?
Yeah, and I would even preface it by saying, our philosophy of how we teach entrepreneurship is that we're not necessarily teaching students simply to start a business. We're teaching them the entrepreneurial mindset and specific competencies that can be deployed in any setting. And I always tell the students, like, I'm a great example of that. I say, do I own Cal State San Marino? Do I own the School of Entrepreneurship or the Center for Entrepreneurship? No. But do I think like an owner? Do I engage? I tell them, I don't do anything any differently here at Cal State than I did when I was running my companies. I think like an owner. I'm entrepreneurial. I build, I grow, I make things happen. And that to me is like, for them to think like an owner is first they have to say, okay, I'm in charge. I'm in control. I have an opportunity here to make a contribution. I'm not just going to wait for somebody to tell me something. I'm going to think like an owner. What does an owner do? They're proactive. They take responsibility. They engage. They solve problems. They don't wait for people to tell them to do something. They're ahead of the curve. And I have a team of people that work with me here that's how they operate. I don't have to tell them to do something. They're already thinking like an owner, and they know that they're going to make a contribution to growing the organization, making an impact on students, because they're thinking, okay, how can I make a difference? How can I go beyond? I don't see this as a job. I see this as a calling, an opportunity to make a difference.
Right.
And I think that's an important distinction, that they start to view the world through a different lens. It's about solving problems. It's about making a contribution. It's about having an impact. It's about thinking beyond the norm. I think that has a really, and again, you can take that out. And if you're a student that graduates and says, "No, I'm not sure I want to start a business yet," you're going to go into an existing organization with that mindset. And if that organization is progressive and open to that type of approach, you're going to help them. You're going to grow, and you're going to help the organization grow. And we have we trot out one of our great examples of a student that went to work for a Fortune 500 company, and within 6 years, he was the director of their regional operations for Southern California and Nevada, overseeing 110 retail stores within 6 years. And we brought him back to speak to our students. We said, how did you get there? How did you go from management trainee to having your own store to having, managing 10 stores to managing 110 stores? And he said, because I think like an owner. I look at it as to what we could do as if this was my business, what would I do? And he said, in the corporate environment, that was unique. Nobody else was thinking that way. He said, that's why I got promoted so quickly because nobody else thought the way I did. I was thinking about innovation, business models. How could we be better at marketing? He said he went into one of his first stores he managed and asked the manager, what are you doing for marketing? And the guy said, I'm doing what corporate tells me. And he said, well, no, this is your store. What are you doing for marketing? What do you want to do for marketing? And that's the way he thinks, right? He's thinking of as if I own this company, how can I help it grow? And by making it grow, I'm growing as well. I'm getting recognized. I'm getting noticed. I'm making a contribution. And and I think he probably makes more than all of us in his position, which I love.
Exactly. So it's a success story. Yeah. So what would you say the key elements of thinking like an owner are? Like, I would say their accountability, right? Thinking outside the box, and please add to that.
Yeah, definitely one, accountability, being accountable. But I think being proactive, thinking beyond. I always tell people, think beyond your job. Think about how you can add value. Think about the people around you. Can you help them solve problems? Can you be, and don't think about is like I just come in and I check the box. But yeah, it's being proactive. It's being accountable. It's thinking about taking on more responsibility. It's about how can I be innovative? How can I make a contribution that's unique that nobody else will make? Like I said, when I work with people like that, those are the people I have. My entire team is like that, and I'm so excited to work with them every day. And I look for opportunities to help them grow, and make more money, and take on more responsibility because our organization and the students and the community benefit from that.
Well, you must have businesses beating down your doors wanting your students.
Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job of both students starting businesses. The last alumni survey we did, which was in 2016, we're actually doing another alumni survey right now. 48% of our students started businesses, one or more businesses after graduation. That's a huge number. Like in the field of entrepreneurship, if your alumni, 20% of your alumni start a business within 5 years after graduation, that's considered a home run. So it was amazing. But they go out and make a difference in existing organizations. And the person is now retired, but was running an organization and that provided services and support to entrepreneurs in the community. And he hired one of our graduates, and that worked out really well. So he came back and hired another one. And then he came to me and he said, I only want to hire your students. I only want to hire your entrepreneurship students because they come ready to grow. They think like an owner. They understand entrepreneurship. They're go-getters. They're passionate. They're highly motivated. He goes, they're impressive. And he goes, and I've hired students from other institutions. I won't name names. He said, and they pale in comparison. And so he said, I only want to recruit your students. So when I have a job opening, one of your students is going to get the job.
Well, it sounds like you have the magic recipe for a very wonderful gumbo of entrepreneurship.
Well, I think let's not underestimate the raw materials, if you will, the students, the younger generation, but our students are all ages. Like, I've got students my age and older in our program. But I think the one thing that's, I would say, unique about my experience in working with students over all these years is they're incredibly talented. They're bright. But they're highly motivated. They're really hungry to make a difference. And I think the other thing too, and we're a Hispanic serving institution at Cal State San Bernardino, and so and our demographics in the entrepreneurship program mirror our institution. A lot of the students have grown up around their parents being small business owners or entrepreneurs, and they've seen good role models, and they want to be just like that, but they want to go take it to the next level. And I remember one of my students, he worked for his father at a trucking company in the medical industry, a transportation company, and he wanted to take over the business. And it was a challenge to kind of get dad to see the new way of doing things. But once dad sort of let him flourish, the company just blew up. I mean, it's gone really, really well. Not without challenges, because there's that intergenerational thing. But he said, Dad now just kind of sits back and counts the money. He doesn't have to work as hard. But he goes, I'm really able to do what I want to do. But he learned that work ethic from his father, his parents. So we get. I mean, I love working with the students at Cal State San Marino. They're just fantastic.
Well, I'm sure Dad is very happy about his investment in his son's education.
Right.
Right. All right. For those listening, I'm Yvette Walker on Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV, talking to Dr. Mike Stull. He is the director of the School of Entrepreneurship in the Jack H. Brown College of Business and Public Administration at California State University, San Bernardino, the first and only entrepreneurship school in California. When we return. Being sued and don't know who to turn to? The insurance company won't defend you and your family in a lawsuit? Stress no more. Call the Walker Law Group. We are the law on your side. Just call 909-989-3200. 909-989-3200. Being sued and don't know who to turn to? The insurance company won't defend you and your family in a lawsuit? Stress no more. Call the Walker Law Group. We are the law on your side. Just call 909-989-3200. 909-989-3200.
The University of Laverne is rated first in California for alumni satisfaction. Learn more about accelerated programs offered online and on campus in Laverne, Irvine, Ontario, Burbank, or College of the Canyons. Visit go.laverne.edu. The University of Laverne. go.laverne.edu.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs a blood transfusion. Be on the giving side. Livestream Blood Bank supports patients in 80 Southern California hospitals. Call 1-800-TRY-GIVING for more information and to set an appointment.
City of Hope is driven to making a difference in the lives of people with cancer and diabetes. We accomplish this by conducting innovative research and providing outstanding care. If you or a loved one has received a cancer diagnosis, go to cityofhope.org to learn more about how our innovative approach could change your outcome. Welcome back. For those listening, I'm Yvette Walker on Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks, KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV, talking to Dr. Mike Stull, the director of the School of Entrepreneurship in the Jack H. Brown College of Business and Public Administration at California State University, San Bernardino, the first and only entrepreneurship school in California. Thank you again for being with us, Dr. Stull.
Yvette, again, it's a pleasure to be here talking about my favorite subject, entrepreneurship.
Wonderful. So before the break, we talked about the school, about what it means to be an entrepreneur and all those amazing things. So right now, I would like for us to focus on you and your wonderful efforts in acquiring the $39 million in order to bring the school to the region in the first place. Can you please speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to clarify that $39 million has been funding that we've secured primarily over the years for the Center for Entrepreneurship to grow that program and get the academic program in a position where we could become a school of entrepreneurship. And that's a process. Boy, you don't want to see the sausage being made at a university, but it took 4 years from start to finish from the time we proposed getting a school of entrepreneurship until it got approved. So it was an arduous process, but we did it. And the university and the students are better for it. But so that 39 million, that has kind of paved the way for us to get to this point, both with the center and the school. That's come from a wide range of sources. So, I basically kind of break it into 3 buckets, if you will. We get funds from grants and contracts. This includes federal funds, state funds, and local funds. So a big part of what I do, and even our team, in the School of Entrepreneurship and the Center for Entrepreneurship is we write grants. We just submitted a big grant this week to do a major research project in the region, partnered with another university. It's a national grant, and we're hoping to get about $500,000 to do some specific research on, and it focuses around minority entrepreneurship and how we can better facilitate the creation of minority enterprises, and what's kind of holding some of the numbers back a little bit. We're seeing good numbers, but there's some areas where we could see some improvement. So grants and contracts, number one, big area. In fact, out of that $39 million, probably 75% of that has been grants and contracts, at least. The second area is we get about 6% over those years. We've gotten about 6% of our funding from the university. So when people say, how's the center funded? I was like, it's mostly self-supporting. We get external funds, a little bit of money from the university. And then the last bucket is what I call foundation revenue. We get philanthropic sponsorships, gifts, foundations. We just had, at the end of 2021, we had City Foundation and Bank of America Foundation committed in grand total about $700,000 in funding to support activities of the Center for Entrepreneurship. Now, the School of Entrepreneurship, largely our operations are funded by the academic component of the university. But for us to get to the next level and really have the impact that we want to have, we are in the process of seeking to have our school named. So we would have a name attached to our school with an endowment that would allow us some discretionary funding to strategically fund initiatives, support students, do things that would just up our total game with the School of Entrepreneurship. So a big part of what I'm doing right now is working with the campus and our campus leadership on getting an endowed funding for the School of Entrepreneurship. And I think that that would really take us to the next level. So we've come a long ways from 0 to 39 million, but we want to get my goal is, if we were having this conversation this time next year, Yvette, then we'd be over 50 million, and that would just be from adding to the school in terms of our funding and our grants and contracts.
Right. And so what does that funding, what will that go to?
Yeah, so it'll go to fund in the school side. It'll go to fund initiatives to support student startups while they're here on campus. It'll go to fund emerging research, because a part of our mission is not only to teach but to do current cutting edge research on entrepreneurship and also on our community and our pedagogy, the way we teach. And it would go towards supporting a dedicated position that would be involved in recruiting students to the campus for entrepreneurship, involved in providing direct advising, ongoing direct touch points, and also focusing on retention of students, because what we want to do when we get them here is we want them to finish in 4 or 6 years at the most. We want them to be successful every semester. We don't want them to fall through the cracks. And so, we're also trying to develop what we call the epicenter, which is a dedicated campus building, a building on campus that would house entrepreneurship, the school, the center, and all of the activities that are innovation based on campus. So it would really fund a lot of activities and really take us to a whole next level in terms of an even better experience, if that's even possible, a better experience for the students.
Absolutely. Well, if one were to walk into one of your labs today, what would we see?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of really unique things about our program, and I'll share an example. I got an email from one of my colleagues on campus last night, and he was reaching out to me for something, and he said, "But first, I want to tell you," he said, "my son just started on campus, and he's taking an entrepreneurship class," and he said he said, "You guys," his son told this faculty member, he said, "Oh, entrepreneurship, yeah, they have the dope classrooms." So when they walk
translation means very cool.
Very cool.
I have teenage kids too.
Yes, it's very cool. And he said, he goes, "That's high praise from my son." He goes, "So you guys are doing something right." So when you walk into our classrooms that are dedicated to entrepreneurship, you're walking into what looks like a boardroom. it looks like business. It's all business, and it's not. There's no desk. It's set up. You're around a table as if you're an executive team. It's got the latest technology. We are working, like students, if they are traveling or they can't make it for a particular reason on a day because they're a little bit under the weather, they have the ability to join us virtually. Now that's, virtual has been big, but we have the next level of virtual to where, if you're joining virtually, everybody in the classroom can see you. I can see you. You can hear everything that's being said in the classroom. This is not, it's high level stuff. And we have space to where we can break out and work in teams and things like that. And the students just at the we often will start them in another classroom and say, let's visit another classroom for the first session and see what the other half, how the other half lives. And then we go to our room, and then they never want to go back. They love our space because it's professional, it's different. It sends a message that you're in a different program already. And they love our chairs because they're leather and they're comfortable, and they just and the room is inspiring because on the walls of the room is canvas photos of all of our many of our successful alumni, and so that gives the students an opportunity to say, well, why are they on the wall, and we can tell the story, and we have a challenge to them. We those pictures lead to a saying that says, "Are you next? Are you next on the wall?"
Very nice. We want you on the wall, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and it starts for us. I had a student visiting yesterday, a student athlete that's getting a scholarship to come here, and she's interested in entrepreneurship. And she said, "Well, tell me when do I start in the program?" And I said, "You can start in the program your first semester because we have a freshman level class. It's called a general education class in California. Students have to complete all their general education requirements in those first 2 years, what we call A through G. And in category E, you can take an entrepreneurship class exploring the entrepreneurial mindset and satisfy category E. So from the very first time you step on campus, you can start taking entrepreneurship classes as a freshman. And that's very unique. There's very few. I think when we did our research, there's only 4 universities in the world that have a general education class in entrepreneurship, and San Bernardino is one of those.
Wonderful. Well, so I'm just curious, going back to the boardroom, do you teach these students, the principles of, a boardroom meeting, with the agenda, the meeting, the vote, all that stuff? Is that part of the program as well?
Yeah, depending on the class. And we also have norms and practices in that room. Like, you don't eat in that room. This is business. We're not in some classroom where we can just have a bag of chips and, you don't eat in that room. You have decorum that's business-like. We don't require the students to dress in business attire, but we have specific standards for how you behave in that room. And also, depending on the class, they're either going to, like in one class, they learn how to network. And one of the classes I teach on innovation and creativity, we have what we call the business mocktail party. And they learn how to network in a business setting. And it's also about how you build on ideas and share ideas and communicate ideas. But they learn how to network and interact with each other in the context of like a business reception. So we do all kinds of fun things like that.
And so what is some of the feedback that you get from, some of the more fun experiences? I mean, it all sounds fun to me, but I'm sure there are more fun experiences than other, like this mocktail event that you conduct. But what is the feedback that you've received from your students?
Oh, we get great feedback because they're applying their learning in real time. This is not a textbook class. This is a class where they have to show up and be engaged. They have an opportunity while they're here on campus to be involved in things like our fast pitch competition, where they pitch their ideas to investors, our innovation challenge, which is kind of like Shark Tank, where they do a longer presentation. They get a chance to meet entrepreneurs one-on-one. We bring in guest speakers liberally. We have an event in the spring called Lunch with the Entrepreneurs, where they actually come and meet with entrepreneurs, and they kind of do speed rounds. So they meet 25 different entrepreneurs. We've actually had, from that event, we've had students get jobs, we've had internships, and we had one student that entered into a joint venture with his product. He brought his product to the Lunch with the Entrepreneurs, and one of the entrepreneurs said, "That's the industry we're in. Would you be interested in doing a joint venture?" And so they did a joint venture business.
Wow.
The feedback we get from students is that our classes are different from all the other classes they've taken. And they love the fact that our faculty are passionate. they're engaged, and that they're required to learn experientially. It's not just show up, take notes, and you're done. In a class I teach, we have one project that's the paper airplane competition, and they have to do an innovative design, pitch their design, and then fly it and perform. And so so they love the fact that they're not just sitting there; they're doing stuff. As one of my students said, the the classes bring the reality of entrepreneurship to life, and it really forces them to kind of engage at a different level than other classes where they just kind of are regurgitating what they learn. We don't have exams. Most of our classes don't have any exams. We focus on what we call learning takeaways. We want them every class session to be able to document what they learned. And like when I teach, they do those learning takeaways and they come back in the next class and we revisit those learning takeaways. It's about remembering, because if you don't remember it, you can't use it. If you can't use it, you're at a disadvantage when you go out to be an entrepreneur. So they really do. And in fact, we have a space on our website that we have comments from students that talk about their experience in the program and what it was like. And they're all for the most part, they're super excited because it's a different experience from what they've ever had before.
I can imagine. It sounds really exciting. So, how would you break down the different categories of themes that you present to your students, especially team building, right? That is the critical area of learning. So, how would you break it down in terms of a pie chart?
Well, we have, if you're a student that's studying entrepreneurship at Cal State San Bernardino, you're going to take 7 classes, possibly 8 classes in entrepreneurship. If you started as a freshman, you'll take the entrepreneurial mindset class, then you'll take an introductory level class in entrepreneurship and innovation, and then you're going to dive into some deeper knowledge and competency building. And we start with, where do ideas come from, and how do I tap into my inherent creativity? I believe everybody's got creativity. How do we tap into it? How do we cultivate it? How do we become, as one of my students said after taking my class, he said, yet I had a hard time coming up with ideas before I started your class. He said, now I can't stop coming up with ideas because I'm like an idea machine. I said, that's exactly what we want. So we want them to learn how to tap into their creativity, come up with ideas, learn how to spot problems that need to be solved, because that's where the best businesses are started, is when we're solving a really pressing problem. And then the next step is we teach them how to think on their feet, to really learn how to improvise and get outside their comfort zone. And then we teach them, you've got these ideas. How do you know if they're any good, right? It's like everybody thinks their ideas are great, right? But not all ideas are created equally, and not all ideas represent an opportunity to create a new venture. So we teach them the skills of assessing, how do I know whether my ideas represents an opportunity? You can never know 100%, right? But we're going to get you to the point where you've got a pretty good idea that this really is an opportunity. We use several different tools to do that. We teach them the competencies of that. And then we teach them how to develop it into a plan and have a strategy, and then how to take it to launch. And then we teach them how to manage the company, build the team, hire the right people. We teach them how to create a financial model for their business. We teach them how to build a network of people that can support them, because most students don't have a network and they need to learn how to build the network. And then we teach them how to manage the company. And then we also teach them how to think, if your company is growing, if all of your dreams come true and your company starts growing rapidly, what do you do? Well, that's what kills a lot of companies, because they don't know how to manage that. And we actually teach that part of it too. So when I said earlier about the life cycle, we teach from idea to running the company, which not a lot of entrepreneurship programs do. A lot of them just teach taking an idea to launch. And to me, that's always doing a disservice. If we just teach you how to launch, you're on your own after that. And so we cover all those things. If you said pie chart, that we give equal weight to all of those things, because they're all critical.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds remarkable, just the breadth of it all and the scope. It's just, these students are going to be eons ahead of everybody around them in their peer group, I would say.
Yeah, I was also going to say too, because we're talking about how we teach entrepreneurship, and I bet you there's some listeners out there. I can guarantee there's some listeners out there that are saying right now, particularly if they're entrepreneurs, they're saying, yeah, but can you really teach entrepreneurship? And obviously, if I didn't think we could teach entrepreneurship, I wouldn't be here as somebody who was an entrepreneur. There's definite competencies. There's a definite foundation of knowledge that we can teach. It's like any other field. There are things that you can teach that, and we know based on research that involved entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, we are down to about, there's a larger number, but we focus on 13 specific competencies that are necessary to be a successful entrepreneur. Now, that said, I can't make you an entrepreneur. That has to come from within. That has to be an internal drive, an internal motivation, a passion for you to take that step. As one student said to me, Mike, what's the hardest part about starting a business? And I said, taking the first step. If you can take that first step, I said, I can prepare you. I can give you, you can be a master of the competencies. But if you're not willing to take that first step, you're not going to be an entrepreneur. So I believe you can teach it. But I think ultimately the students have to take the initiative. They have to have the passion, the drive. As Jaime Escalante used to say, they have to have the ganas, you know.
Ganas, todo con ganas.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that's an important thing to stress is that, yeah, you can teach it and we can prepare them, but ultimately they've got to do it.
Well, I have to say that is the ultimate in an entrepreneurial mindset, Dr. Stull. You are the ultimate in entrepreneurial, mindset in the sense that you have taken a quality, which is an entrepreneurial mindset, which is intangible, right? A hodgepodge, so to speak, of different qualities and actions and behaviors and thought processes, and created a vision of your own to create a resource in the school to actually create more entrepreneurs. To me, that is the ultimate, especially if there are other entrepreneurs listening that are doubtful or, downplaying it. I mean, this is the ultimate, the pinnacle of entrepreneurship. What you're doing right now is to teach others to become entrepreneurs themselves, taking those intangible qualities. And the fact that you had that student that remarked that, before taking the class, he had a challenge coming up with ideas, but after the course, they're just popping out of his head.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate reward for what we do. Is in fact, one of my students said, actually, she asked two questions. She said, one, Dr. Stull, she said, "Why are you here?" And then the second question was, "Wouldn't you rather be out running your own company?" And I said, "Well, why I'm here is because I'm really excited about having an impact, making a difference, and not just in the sense of I start a business, I make money, and that's exciting. But the fact that, that what myself and what our team does here has a longer lasting impact. And when you have students come back and say that you and the program and the other faculty made a difference and influenced their trajectory of their lives and their career, that's the ultimate reward. We're here to make a difference, I believe. And so that's one. And then the other piece, when she said, wouldn't you rather have your own business? I said, I clearly would make more money having my own company or, going out but I said, the thing that, again, the thing that drives me is not necessarily the monetary, it's the psychic rewards. And I get paid pretty well for what I do here. But, that's, I do occasionally get excited about an idea, or I think, oh, I would love to start a business in this area. I think I could solve a problem. But ultimately, I come back and say, well, would it be as rewarding as what I'm doing right now? And ultimately, the answer is no. So here I am.
Well, that is wonderful. And I'm so glad that our region has you here and you have aimed your efforts and your time and your talent and everything that you've learned along the way to creating this School of Entrepreneurship here at Cal State San Bernardino. So looking forward, what do you want to see?
What I want to see, and what our team would like to see, is for our school to get. Obviously, we would love to get that endowed funding, and we're putting together what we call a council of executives that will be a part of helping shape the future of the school. They'll be essentially, for me as the director, they'll be my board, that my confidants, my resource to help grow the school. Would love more involvement from the local community in terms of entrepreneurs, coming and mentoring students and sharing their expertise and their experiences as well. And I always tell people, spread the word. Tell people about what we're doing at Cal State. You know, it's rare. I was just talking. I've got a new dean coming in, and I was meeting with him before he starts on July 1, and he was getting up to speed on what we're doing. And he said, you guys are really unique. This is like, he goes, in fact, this is one of the things that attracted me to want to be at the dean at the Jack Brown College, is what you guys are doing in entrepreneurship. It's unique. Not very many universities are doing what you're doing. And that's the thing that's kind of cool, is we're here in the Inland Empire, which, as you know, oftentimes gets overlooked. And as a mostly lifelong resident in the Inland Empire, I'm really proud of this region. And I'm proud that we can do anything, and we can do many things better than other regions. So I would implore the audience out there, one, to spread the word, particularly among the younger generation, about the possibilities of entrepreneurship. Because all too often in school, they're kind of steered away from it. If you really think about our education system, which I don't want to be a huge critique, but it is what it is. It's designed to create employees. And what our economy needs, and particularly what we need in the Inland Empire, are fewer employees and more entrepreneurs, and that entrepreneurial mindset. And so one of the things that came out of a big report we did called State of Entrepreneurship in 2021 was that our K through 12 system needs to do a better job of exposing students to entrepreneurship as a legitimate pathway to becoming, for their future. And so I would implore people to spread the word about the importance of entrepreneurship. If you know somebody that's interested in entrepreneurship, studying entrepreneurship, steer them to Cal State San Bernardino, because we are the leader in entrepreneurship education. We are entrepreneurship for the Inland Empire.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm so happy. And thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Stull.
It's my pleasure, and I look forward to having a future conversation with you. And hopefully, next year we'll be coming back and share with you all the great things that we accomplished in 2022.
We will. So for everyone listening, don't forget, look for us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Check us out on scbrtalk.com. And don't forget to download the free live streaming app on Google Play or the Apple App Store. Don't miss my interview with Jeff Burham, chairman of National Community Renaissance. In 1991, using his own resources, Mr. Burham co-founded National Community Renaissance in response to the need for affordable housing in San Bernardino County. 5 years later, wanting to provide more than shelter to low-income families and seniors, he co-founded the Hope Through Housing Foundation to offer programs and services that transform the lives of residents. Today, National Core is one of the largest national nonprofit affordable housing developers in the country. Burham is a longtime affordable housing advocate. Early in his career, he was one of 22 real estate professionals to be appointed by Congress to serve on the Millennial Housing Commission, whose mission was to make recommendations for federal housing policy to legislators. Next week, we will have Dr. Samir Samarani, a cardiovascular specialist. He was born and raised in Lebanon and is a trilingual in English, French, and Lebanese. He is a very thorough and caring physician and believes in the value of patient education. He also has personal interest in information technology and electronic devices, and he's always looking for better ways to utilize and improve patient care and medical practices. His clinical interests and expertise include evaluation and advanced treatment of structural heart disease with non-surgical interventions, evaluation and treatment of peripheral arterial disease, chronic venous insufficiency, and veno-occlusive disease, and evaluation and treatment of pulmonary hypotension. Dr. Samarani has a strong background in the care, management, and treatment, including advanced therapies of heart failure. He is a specialist in cardiac CT, cardiac MRI, echocardiogram 2D, 3D, nuclear imaging, and vascular imaging. Dr. Samarani's training includes advanced cardiac imaging at Yale University Hospital in New Haven, a cardiology fellowship at Yale University Hospital, an internal medicine residency and chief residency at St. Raphael Hospital in New Haven, and medical school at Lebanese University in Beirut, Lebanon. Outside of medicine, he enjoys spending time with his family, playing soccer, and exploring new places. He has 2 daughters, Chloe and Zoe, and is married to a lovely French lady, Danielle, who carries a major in interior architecture Please, friends, don't miss it. We'll see you next week.
This has been the Southern California Business Report with Yvette Walker on KMET 1490 AM, FM 98.1, and ABC News Radio affiliate, a show dedicated to highlighting successful Southern California businesses and the people behind them.